Choose life. Choose making stupid fucking video essays. Choose sharing them to all your friends. Yes, the humble sequel. There are good sequels, there are bad sequels, ones that replace the original outright, and ones that will just make for some quick money for the studio. Either way, there are a lot of potentials for a sequel film. You can expand on an already pre-established world that the audience is familiar with, but you've also got the chance to break the box office as well. You knew Shrek, but Shrek as a human man, mate, that's a different story right there. One Shrekillion dollars. Sequels also have the potential to be, for the lack of a better word, barren, unnecessary. Look, do you remember this guy? Oh, look, he said this line in this movie too. Wow, this guy's fucking old and he's chopped and he's also got several sexual allegation cases against him, but he could say the line still. There's just so many movies out there that just didn't really need a sequel. The story could have ended satisfyingly, the arcs is all complete, and the directors and actors and everyone who ever worked on the original film could go down in history and secure their legacy. So with that being said, what about Trainspotting 2?
They didn't say what to do with those 30 years. 2 or 3, fine, I'll take that, I can cope with that. I can think of enough things to do to piss away what remains, but 30, what am I supposed to do with that? I'm 46 and I'm fucked.
Tier 2 Trainspotting, which is a fucking stupid name, I'm calling it Trainspotting 2, occupies a very strange space in relation to its predecessor. You don't see people clamouring about the Trainspotting duology because A, such a thing didn't really exist for 20 years, and B, you could sit through all of the original Trainspotting and you could be completely satisfied with the way it ends, right? Mark Renton, after spending the whole film as just a hopeless heroin addict who is chopped and he hates his life and he spends his time with people he hates, he moves on, he takes a share of the money, and he chooses life. So what would the point be of a film set 20 years after this one? Trainspotting 2 on paper is an idea that could have failed completely if the landing didn't stick at all, and both Danny Boyle and Irving Welsh were aware of this.
We're not interested in just doing something just for the sake of it that will kind of trash the legacy of Trainspotting or undermine that in some way. We want to do something that's very fresh and contemporary.
So in this way, Trainspotting 2, it doesn't really feel like a sequel in the traditional sense, as much as it does like an expansion pack on Trainspotting. It's like DLC. It's not necessarily a second movie, but it is still part of that same universe in a way. But there's footage used throughout the original sparingly, there's remixes of songs from the original, Renton does an updated version of the Choose Life monologue, you know, it's all there and it's all very delicate. But the jingling keys factor that a lot of other legacy sequels tend to do, like in, say, Force Awakens, it's all done very sparingly in this one. But it's to drive home the main point of Trainspotting 2. These guys, despite it all, cannot return to the way things were.
Nostalgia. That's why you're here. You're a tourist in your own youth.
There's a very interesting interview that Danny Boyle did when the film came out with Film 4 when he's discussing the screenplay with John Hodges and all that.
John went away and then he wrote something very, very personal. He didn't really write an adaptation of a book. There are sequences and elements that are drawn from both books, actually. But he wrote something much more personal, I think, about himself through the prism of these characters.
So, with that take in mind, with that perspective in mind, this film's existence as an expansion of Trainspotting becomes very evident. These guys are old, and they are back on their bullshit. Guys, what if they called it Trunkspotting? Like Twain and Og, that would be pretty cool, maybe. Nostalgia permeates through this film, and it's not in a very comforting way that a lot of other legacy sequels tend to rely a bit too much on. It permeates in this over them like an uncomfortable light, you know? There's 80s throwback nights, there's loyalist clubs, the boys go to the train station that Tommy took them to in the first movie. Renton doesn't come back to Edinburgh by choice, but after reuniting with Sick Boy and moving in with him, he starts to loop back on old habits, both figuratively, such as excitedly explaining in the past to Sick Boy's younger spouse, and literally, such as getting on the heroin. If anything, in this movie, I think nostalgia acts as a major impediment for these characters. It stops anyone from getting anything reasonable done, and it keeps dragging him back together like some fucked up Ouroboros, you know? Renton gets asked what choose life means, and yes, he goes on that big tirade, but by the end of it, he's clearly reminded of how little he's accomplished for himself.
Choose never learning from your own mistakes. Choose watching history repeat itself. Choose the slow reconciliation towards what you can get rather than what you always hoped for.
The only person that seems to have moved on from the events in the first film is Diane, who shows up for about 5 minutes, but shows how much more well put together she is compared to Renton and the other guys. But therein lies the question Trainspotting 2 seeks to ask itself. It's been 20 odd years, and these guys are still clearly stuck 20 years ago. How can they move on from here?
I like your stories. I think you should write them down.
Now, initially, Spud is the only one throughout this movie that actually utilises this nostalgia productively rather than regress from it. About halfway through the film, he starts writing down his own experiences from the first film, which are taken directly from the actual book, and it starts to put him in a much better place than the other guys. He gets to acknowledge his grief for Tommy. He can express that lived experience in a way that doesn't imply that life back then was just so much better. He doesn't cherry pick, and he doesn't have the rose-tinted glasses on either. Both Renton and Sick Boy learn the hard way that trying to evoke the past means evoking people from that period as well, which means, oh fuck, it's Begbie. If Renton and Sick Boy are using nostalgia to feel like it's the past, Begbie is the past. In the 20 years that he's been in prison, he has stubbornly refused to change. There are brief moments where he shows remorse for his past actions, like not being there for his son and saying that he'll be a better man than him, because the memory of his whiner father is brought up by Spud. He hasn't matured in the same way the others have, because the past is all he can cling on to. He's the ultimate embodiment of nostalgia holding people back, and it leads him right back into the prison by the end. And unlike Begbie, Renton realises that he can't really keep living the life he did when he was young, dumb and full of heroin, so it's not much use doing stakeouts and robbing the way Sick Boy did it. He has to move on, he has to take responsibility for himself, and once again, he must choose life. So I started writing this because Trainspotting 2 is a very interesting companion piece to Trainspotting. You don't necessarily have to watch it, it is, at the end of the day, it's very optional to watch it, but in the era of, like, there's Force Awakens had come out a year before, and then you had The Last Jedi coming out the same year as this movie, it feels like a bit of a commentary. I think it feels like a commentary on legacy sequels like the one that it is, quite literally. Movies like The Force Awakens pulls all sorts of tricks like the ones I talked about in the beginning of this video, and those are the tricks that Trainspotting 2 would absolutely detest. The Force Awakens revels in nostalgia, but it doesn't do it in a way that's sincere or meaningful. It does it because it knows it can do it, and it wants your money. Trainspotting 2 chooses to turn to its audience that were there to bear witness to it in 1996, and say, alright, we're all getting older, that's fine, and we can look back on these memories fondly, but we can't keep chasing them, because all it can do is hurt us if we do that. I started writing this video because watching Trainspotting 2 felt incredibly refreshing. It wasn't like a normal nostalgia bait sequel that you normally associate with a lot of other legacy sequels, and Trainspotting 2 could have well decided to be a nostalgia bait sequel, and it wasn't afraid to adjust where the audience could have very well found themselves in. I think there's a comfort to taking that sort of thing. It isn't necessarily required viewing if you're looking to watch Trainspotting, but if you do watch Trainspotting, there's a special sort of charm to watching Trainspotting 2. So, yeah. Like and sub. I'll see you all later.